Okay, let's go ahead and start. I got a cube here, and if I click above it and do my Shift A and add a mesh and add a plane, S for scale, and then move my mouse out so it becomes bigger. Now I go into edit, so I do a tab, do W for subdivide, then choose subdivide, W for subdivide, and go through a few times. So we've got a bunch of vertices in there now. I go out of edit, so I do a tab. Okay, now we want to make this a cloth. So if I have this selected, then I can come over and choose my physics, I believe, the bouncing ball, and choose cloth. Now if I do an Alt-A at this point, it should pass through the cube. It does, just keeps on going. Do an escape. I want to select the cube, but I want to make it a collision. Now if I do Alt-A, then you have your cloth hanging over the box. Now we looked at this before. You know, all the different items you can choose for it. But that's just refreshing memory on cloth. Now I'm going to open up my werewolf. Really doesn't matter what you pick, just as long as it has vertices. Okay, I'll wait till you download the werewolf then. What we're going to show here is how to make clothing. So we're kind of expanding based upon what we saw before with the tablecloth. And I think we also looked at flag and something blowing in the wind. A sheet.
Where'd you get this model
from? Turbo Squid. Yeah. Okay. I'll wait till you get it loaded. Okay. Now, the very simplest cloth is to take your model, go into edit mode, so do a tab. You do an A to unselect everything, or A again to deselect it, depending upon whether it's selected or not. I want to do a Z for wireframe. I want to do a C for circle, select. And then I'll use my mouse wheel to make my circle bigger. Now I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and go through and click where I think the shirt would be.
Wait, how did you get the circle again?
C.
Oh, C.
You can right click to undo the circle, and you should have that selected. If you rotate it around, you'll see you have vertices selected on this side too. I think that's selected. Yeah, it is. Now you can individually at this point hold down your Shift key, I believe it is, and right-click individual vertices if you didn't get all the ones you wanted. You want to make sure you hold down your Shift key. If you don't, then it will deselect it. Let's see, Shift. I don't think I had those selected. Okay, so I got a bad job of selecting things, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so now I got those selected. You do a Shift D for duplicate, and then you can press Enter. Now, if you simply did a G for grab, you can move it to the side like this, but right mouse click to undo that. I'm just showing that we don't actually have the vertices of the werewolf. We have the vertices of the duplicated material. Now to have that as a separate object, now that we have that, still have that selected, you do P, and we got separate, and you want to do selection. Now if I go out of edit mode, go to object and do a Z, you should be able to select the entire werewolf, or if you select here, it'll select just where we selected as vertices.
So, I was like, I had like a whole bunch of selections on the tail, so I had selected, you said Shift D.
That'll duplicate it and press enter. And then you do PP to separate it.
Separate by selection.
Right.
Okay, it's all red.
It's all red? Oh, okay, for selected.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then if you go out of object mode, or out of edit mode, so you do a tab, you should be able to right click the body and right click this part here.
Okay, yeah.
Now I'm going to show you a very simple way, and then I'll have a tutorial for you to follow, YouTube video, that'll give you the details of how to make it look good. I'm giving you kind of the general idea. If I have the cloth selected here, where the shirt would be, if you do an S for scale and bring it out, then you can kind of inflate it from the rest of the mesh. Now, if I have I'll do a G for grab to kind of move it up a little bit. Okay, so there's our shirt outline. Now, if I don't really like this layout, so let me choose where is that at? Oh, this drop down, and I want to choose my no way to set it back to default. I thought there was a default. Okay. Well, I have that selected. I want to choose my let's see, physics. I want to choose cloth for that, and I want to choose the werewolf, and I want to choose collision. Now, if you do Alt A, sure it'll hang on the werewolf like a cloth. Now, if I created pants, using that same technique. I want to make sure I have the body selected. I go back into Edit and do A couple times, make sure nothing's selected. And we want to choose our C for circle, select, and we want to choose where we think the pants would be. I didn't choose Z for wireframe. I'm gonna, what?
We're doing pants.
Yeah. So I'm going to right click to shut off the circle select. I'm going to do a Z for wireframe. Now I'll do a C again for circle select. If you don't have the wireframe chosen, it won't select all the vertices in the back. So I come up here. I'll right click that to shut it off. Looks like I got a lot of the tail, which I shouldn't have. So let me do a... Yeah, I have to think about this. How to unselect. Inverse is Control I. Deselect all vertices. No. Let me turn on circle select. And then come down here.
What about his tail?
I actually didn't want his tail.
Yeah.
I hate to go all that effort to shut it off the point by point. I'm drawing a blank how to deselect without... Okay, I'm just going to deselect everything.
Middle mouse button.
Oh, is it? Too late. Okay. So I'm going to do a C for circle select. I should have done it on the side here. Probably been better. Okay. C. Okay, so I got that. And you say you're in circle select, you do your middle? Ah, it is middle. I don't remember that, but that's good to know. Okay, that's probably about as good as I'm going to pick for the pants. So I'm going to do a Shift D for duplicate. I'm going to do an enter to select that, or to apply that. Then I'm going to do a P and then P again for a selection. Now if I shut off wireframe, do a Z again, I go into object mode, I should be able to select the pants. We want to make them a little bit bigger. So I'll do an S for scale, make the pants bigger. Move them up a little bit. Okay, now I have the pants selected. I'm going to go into my choose cloth. I should already have the main body selected as a collision, so I shouldn't have to redo that. Now, I'm probably going to see something weird happen here. Or not. I was wrong. What happens if you don't have a belt on, your pants are real loose? You know, they fall off, don't they? But since there's an angle to this, it could be that collision is enough to prevent it from dropping off. Remember pinning?
Yeah. With
cloth? If you are working with something that wasn't of this shape or something you're going to animate, you probably want to pin it. So you grab a vertex, create a vertex group, and pin it there, just to refresh your memory. If I have my pants selected, I go into the edit mode. It's down here in the triangle. One. If I select one of my vertices up here, maybe two of them, one over on this side. So hold down my shift key, select those, create a vertex group, call it whatever, pant or belt. It's not exactly a belt. And then there's this button that it's a sign. If I click assign, that assigns that vertex group. Now if I go back to object mode, I have the pants selected. I go to my cloth, maybe. Trying to remember where the pin's at.
Are you still trying to get belt? Or
Yeah, I'm trying to find where the pin's at. Do you remember which? I have to Google it. Let me go to my best friend Google.
hook maybe?
Well,
Hook maybe? Like add a modifier
actually, there's
or
a.
a screw?
I think there's just an option somewhere where you can set that. Let me see. Blender, pinning, cloth.
So what did we do on the plane menu then? What did you add for the vertex group?
Oh, for the map, for the flag.
For the pants?
Oh, where I did that at?
Yeah.
That's the triangle one here.
Yeah. You just added one? You didn't do anything?
I added it, and then I selected two vertices, and I clicked the assign on it.
So the two vertices are the shirt and the pants?
No, I selected vertices just off the pants. The shirt, I figure will stay on just because of the upper body. But the pants, if you straighten the legs out, they might drop down.
Yeah.
So I went in edit. First I selected the pants. I went in edit, I selected two vertices up here right about where the belt would be. I clicked the plus here for vertex group. I named it belt, and then I clicked the assign button. It says ASSI in this configuration.
Yeah.
But now, Blender, pinning cloth, location, vertex group, location. Go to physics, activate pinning, select your vertex group. Well, that's not very clear. Okay, so here's our cloth. Maybe you're right. It does say hook here, doesn't it? You got a good memory. I didn't remember hook. Okay, so I'm gonna choose. Is that a modifier? That's a modifier. So go to the wrench. Click add modifier hook. can't handle that on the bottom. Okay. So my hook and vertex group, choose that, choose belt. Now if I do Alt A, it doesn't change any because our pants weren't dropping down anyway. But in theory, if you do your modeling and so forth, then that'll keep them up anyway. Now, I just did a very simple scale to change the size of that. There's also if you have it selected, you go into sculpt mode. You can come over here to see tools. Options, grease pencil. Okay, down here. I thought it was over on the side too, but I'm obviously wrong. If you choose brush, sculpt tool, and inflate. Inflate is where you can go individually and inflate with your sculpting tool different parts of the pants. Now here's inflate. You can deflate. Mine wasn't changing very much, so I could change these. Radius of the brush and pixels, strength. May not have enough vertices to work with. You can accumulate. See, I don't see mine changing very much. There it goes. I changed it to 349. And this is how you can inflate the clothing. Gives you more control than just the scale. Scale just does the entire object. Now you go back to edit mode if you want more detail. And if I have all the vertices selected, then I can do a W for subdivide to get more to work with. Can't really sculpt if you don't have enough vertices. Does that make sense on a general idea on clothing?
Yeah.
You can see I didn't do a very good job here. Looks like when I did my scale and did my G for grab, part of the clothing is inside the body, which would become obvious once you change the color of it.
Yeah.
Looks like I didn't do a very good job here. And in the tutorial I have you do, they actually have you change the color of it so that it'd be more meaningful and you can see it. If I come here and inflate that, see, then I don't see that underneath, do I? Here in the back, if I go to sculpt mode and I inflate that right there, go to edit mode, see, then you don't see the, obviously the tool I'm using in sculpt mode, you probably don't want it this big. I just wasn't seeing any kind of impact with it small like that, so I just made it really huge. Now I put 2 videos out there, 2 tutorials to do. One of them is a clothing tutorial. Now you can skip through some of this if you want. This is a 20-minute tutorial. And he's very, very picky about getting it to look good in terms of what he's selecting and everything. But he comes over here, you can see he's selecting all the vertices, and he's actually doing a good job selecting them. Not like what I did. And he'll go through, and I don't know if he actually inflates in this video or not. I don't remember. See, he's scaling it. And he's looking in detail. See how there's some now right there? So he's putting a lot of effort into it. Like I say, I'm not that picky. If you want to, you can. But he'll also show you in here how to change the color of just the shirt. And once you see that change, you can see then how it becomes bigger like that. And he's grabbing an entire side here and moving it out. He's also using a modifier, a mirror modifier, such that any changes he makes on this side are reflected on this side. And if you want to do that, that's fine. Or if you want to do it like the technique I just showed, that's fine too. But once you go through and create a clothing with colored clothing, matches that. The other one is kind of a fun one. It's a 6-minute video, so it's not very long. It's how to create an explosion. And I went through this, and it's kind of a fun little activity. See, that's what it comes up with. But go through and create that. And that's an assignment for today, those two activities. And I'll go ahead and create a Dropbox on it. Like I say, get whatever you want from this clothing tutorial. If you just want to get how to change the color of it, then that's fine there. It's not as intuitive as you think for changing the color.